Hi, I'm Isabel, and welcome back to Engineer Your Space. Today I'm going to share with you how I made a temporary dividing wall to separate my home office from my living room. So let's get started. I really do love my office, and it's a great place to work from home. But the one thing that I was missing was storage, and I also didn't like the fact that it was completely open to my living room. So my solution for this was to use Billy bookcases as storage, but also as a base to hold some shelves that complete the visual separation from the living room, but without closing in my office. The first part of the project was to join the two bookcases by first attaching them together with screws at the front. For the back, I covered it with 1/4-inch plywood. I needed a piece that was 63 inches by 41 inches. I had the 4x8 sheet cut at the hardware store and had the piece cut in half so that it would fit in my car. It's easier to screw the plywood in place with the bookcases lying on the floor, and you will want to countersink all your screw heads so that the back surface is smooth. I attached a 1x3 board between the bookcases and the plywood, flush with the bottom of the back of the bookcases. This board makes the base more stable and it gives a place to screw in the bottom of the plywood. Next, I primed the surface, and you could fill in the holes of the screw heads with wood filler before doing this, and that would give you a more even surface. I decided to go with a beautiful textured metallic wallpaper to cover the plywood. It's the perfect thing to cover up any imperfections and the joint in the plywood. Because I didn't overlap the wallpaper enough at the seams, when it dried, it shrunk a little bit and I ended up with a white line. So for a quick fix, I ended up using some eyeshadow that I had that matched the color of the wallpaper, and I simply brushed it on and then wiped it off with my fingers. Now, one last thing that I wanted to do to the base was to make a hole in one of the sides. And that's so I would be able to put in an extension cord to plug in things like my printer. I used tape to cover the sides of the bookcase to mark the location of the shelf, the back panel, and the center of where I want my hole to be. And then I used an 1.5-inch hole saw bit to make the hole. The tape helps protect the finish for a smoother edge, and all that's needed is a light sanding to take out the rough spots. The next part of the project was to make the top, and I made mine using 1x4s that I had cut at the hardware store. It's very important to measure and have your cross pieces cut carefully because you want the top to be able to slide over the base smoothly but without leaving too much of a gap. I painted all the wood, and then using a combination square, I marked the location of the shelves across all of the vertical boards. It just makes it easier to line everything up. I used a corner clamp to hold the boards and drilled pilot holes and screwed the pieces together, countersinking the screws. Next, I attached the cross pieces the same way, and I covered up all the screw heads with wood filler, let that dry, and sanded it down before touching it up with paint. I also made a hole in the side of the top to match the hole in the bookcase for the extension cord. Next, it was just a matter of sliding the top over the base. And my furry helper here wasn't actually very helpful, but she's pretty cute, so I think I'll keep her. I left an overhang of 1/2 inch and screwed the top to the base and covered the rest of the sides and the top of the bookcase with a 1x6 and another 1x4. I also added a 1x1 on the bottom of the wallpaper side of the dividing wall just to complete the frame. And that's it, the dividing wall is done. Now it's really just a matter of dressing up the shelves with some accessories. I used a piece of driftwood that I had found at the beach to fill in the middle section, and I did that by drilling holes in the branches and using wire and eye screws to secure it to the top. I also made a double-sided picture frame by removing the flaps from 2 frames, adding some Velcro, and then stapling a wood stick with a small hole for hanging. The Velcro makes it really easy to attach the frames together and take them apart for changing out the pictures. And then you simply hang the whole thing from a small hook. Having this dividing wall has made such a huge difference. Now I have tons of storage in my office that's completely hidden from the rest of the apartment, and my office truly feels like a separate room but without feeling closed in. The dividing wall is really stable with all the heavy things that I've put in my bookcases, but you could also use brackets to attach it to the wall for extra support. Well, that's it for today's episode. If you want to watch how I use Billy bookcases to create an entryway in my New York apartment, you can click on this video here. And if you want to watch part 1 and part 2 of my home office projects, you can click on these videos here. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. You can also visit engineeryourspace.com for more information on this project and other DIY tips and inspiration. See you next time.